By the hoary hosts of Hoggoth, they've only gone and done it. After years flirting with the idea of a Doctor Strange movie, Marvel have delivered in a remarkable way, making one of the most beautiful comic book movies ever. If you're a fan of LSD, like I am, or any other mind-altering drugs, you'll particularly enjoy it. Crucially, the possible reverberations for the future of the MCU could be massive. There are already hints in that ending that show just what they could be. It's just a matter of determining the meaning. I'm Ben from What Culture, and this is what the ending of Doctor Strange really means. Obviously, spoiler alert. First up, the ending. So here goes. After taking down the three sanctums in double quick time thanks to some terrible security, Mas Mikkelsen's Caecilius opens a portal to the dark dimension where Dormammu waits to devour the Earth and grant him eternal life, or so he thinks. Fortunately, Doctor Strange uses the Eye of Agamotto to reverse time and fix Caecilius' destruction, before suddenly deciding instead to go and confront Dormammu. The pair spar and Dormammu reveals that Strange has trapped him in an eternal loop after he kills him over and over again in a lovely montage. It's not really eternal as it lasts about 5 minutes, but Dormammu doesn't have any patience despite being immortal. Don't prod at that too much. Anyway, Strange manages to convince the demon demigod to withdraw his desire for Earth and take Caecilius with him in return for getting out of the eternal loop. Strange then becomes Sorcerer Supreme and takes over the New York Sanctum, but not before Mordo has renounced his position as a sorcerer in disgust at the flagrant disregard for the natural order and just goes off in a bit of a huff, really. So here is what all that means. Number 7. The multiverse is open. So far, most of the MCU's films have resisted the call to the supernatural, preferring instead to stay closer to reality and a grounded narrative. Well, as grounded as you can get with a Norse god and a giant green monster man anyway. Now, with the multiverse open for business, we can start to see more outlandish stories and more outlandish characters, so there's no real reason we can't now see Ant-Man go back to the quantum realm. Could Captain America end up being assassinated and sent between universes and time? Might Red Skull return from some alternate universe? It almost doesn't matter if any of that happens. What matters is that they now all could happen, and that's very exciting. Number 6. There's no Ancient One. As Strange mentions at the climax of the film, every major threat in the multiverse will have turned their eyes to Earth, aware that there's a new order and no Ancient One. Clearly, she was deemed enough of a formidable opponent to warrant caution when considering attacks on Earth, despite the fact that she couldn't even defend her own library from a still-learning Doctor Strange. I suppose you could call her a Ancient One for wankers, #Ancient One for wankers. This means that we can now expect some wild and wonderful grander threats from the far-flung reaches of the multiverse, more in the vein of Dormammu than grounded villains like Zemo. Could we next see long-term Strange villains, the Mindless Ones? Maybe we might even see Marvel and Fox iron out a deal for Galactus for future movies. Here's hoping. Number 5. Will Strange lead the Avengers? It's impossible to shake the idea that Strange and Benedict Cumberbatch are being groomed to step into the leading role of the MCU should Robert Downey Jr. move on. They are very similar after all. They're outrageously arrogant, disarmingly charming, and are both rich playboys. By the end of the film, Strange has adopted his leadership role, revealing that he's already got Loki and other threats on a watch list, just as he was on S.H.I.E.L.D., and calling Thor to answer to him. And the fact that Thor does says a lot. But can Strange actually become a fully fledged Avenger? No, at least not according to the film's internal logic. At one point, Wong says that the Avengers protect the Earth from tangible real-world threats, whereas the Sorcerers look after more metaphysical threats. Something significant would have to change for him to take on the natural order of the Sorcerers, or it would if he wasn't a badass, rule-breaking son of a gun. Number 4. Is Dormammu done? Despite the fact that the Groundhog Day-like repeated death montage that crowns the meeting between Strange and Dormammu is probably the best scene in the entire film, it's a bit of a shame that the iconic villain even appeared. He has a long and terrible history battling Strange in the comics, and really he should only ever be an ever-present figure, unkillable and only defeatable through feats of intellect as he was here. It just feels like going so big with him immediately and basically writing in a restriction for him ever appearing around Earth again is a little like jumping the shark, because it means we won't get to see the wealth of stories he's appeared in adapted. Okay, admittedly, Dormammu has previous experience with working his way out of deals with Strange to leave the world alone, and he'll probably work with Mordo to try and kill off Strange to do the same this time, but it just felt like scrapping a great villain before he even had a chance to get going. Maybe he'll just come back after some other threat rears its head in the sequel. Number 3. Mordo will return. Chiwetel Ejiofor's performance in Doctor Strange is as excellent and underplayed as you would expect from an actor of his prowess. He has a similar sort of regal edge as Cumberbatch, and his classical training is perfect for this sort of mystic role, but it would also be fair to say he's underused in the film. Absolutely, he has a complete arc that directly mirrors Strange's in that he falls out of love with the Sorcerer's Way, as Strange finds validation in it, but he would be far more interesting as a more conscious villain. And luckily, thanks to the ending and the post-credit stinger, that's exactly what we're going to see. Having gone off in a huff at the way the sorcerers treat the natural order, Mordo reappears to take away Jonathan Pangborn's powers as the first step in his cleansing routine to rid the world of sorcerers. He's got the potential to be a Machiavellian on the same sort of scale as Loki, and that can't be a bad thing for the MCU. Number 2. Strange is heading to Ragnarok. In the mid-credits scene, Thor appears to answer Doctor Strange's questions about the presence of Loki in London. He says the pair are looking for their father, who has gone missing, and thanks to what we know about the start of Ragnarok, this must come some way down the line in the Thor sequel. At this stage, Thor has no idea that Loki is alive, or that Odin is missing, so something has to change to have the pair working together again. Bizarrely, this also seems to suggest that Loki isn't actually the outright villain in Ragnarok either. The long and short of this scene, which Scott Derrickson has confirmed was filmed by Taika Waititi, is that Doctor Strange is going to appear in the Thor sequel, even if just for one London set sequence. That film is going to be 8 hours long if it's not careful. And number 1, Strange is also heading to Infinity War. Right at the end, having put an end to Caecilius' nefarious plans for Earth, Doctor Strange returns the Eye of Agamotto to Kamar Taj, where Wong says it's a smart move since he shouldn't be walking around with an Infinity Stone around his neck. Clearly he knows something of Thanos' desire for them, or at least the underlying possibility that someone or something will always be seeking the stones to unify their powers. So that's the long-awaited, much-expected confirmation that the Eye is in fact the Time Stone, and that at some point in Avengers Infinity War, Thanos will turn up in Kamar Taj to claim it for himself. However that works out logistically, it's also confirmation that Strange himself will appear in Infinity War, which again was expected, but it's nice to have it mapped out now. Obviously, this is how he becomes affiliated with the Avengers, though again, there's no saying he'll join up yet. And that's that! Are there any explanations we missed off? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can even follow me here on Twitter if you fancy. I'm Ben from What Culture, and thanks for watching.